To start off, for those that for some reason may not know who you are that are watching the video, could you let them in on what you do and who you are?
My name is Michael Crockwell. The internet calls me MichaelCthulhu. Discovery Channel calls me Irish Mike. I make big giant swords for a living, kind of, sort of. Yeah, more or less. That's what I do. Who would have thunk it? The internet and the world at large is full of people who want ridiculously large weapons that are totally useless for anything other than using once and then complaining that your back hurts.
Well, I complain my back hurts all the time, but it has nothing to do with giant.
So you don't need one of my swords. You got that covered.
I already got back pain.
Already fixed.
What has been your favorite sword that you've made?
I have favorite ones for different reasons. Lightning's Gunblade was the best technical challenge / looked the best when it was finished. Alistair was probably the best work of art, like the most sculptural, best proportioned looking one. Atrox, the junk sword, which is made out of bits of old crap I found, is the most fun because I don't have to worry about what it looks like, and it wasn't made for a customer. It sits in a tree stump outside my house, and whenever I feel like smashing something, that is the one I can pick up. It's all Mad Maxy looking, and it's supposed to be all rusty, so the more dinged up and battered it gets, the cooler it gets, you know?
That's so awesome.
Is there anything that you've learned since you have started working on YouTube and creating your swords that you would have wished somebody would have told you, or you could go back and tell yourself when you first started?
Oh, a million things, like 100 million things. Like there's no, like if somebody, like the simplest thing, like the metal comes with a grey surface on it called mill scale. You can take that off with vinegar. It was like last year I found that out. Before I'd been using sandpaper and brawn to take it off. You can use a car battery charger and vinegar to etch designs into steel. I didn't know that. I was using nitric acid before, which is dangerous and hard to dispose of compared to vinegar. You know, getting parts laser cut. You know, just like outsourcing bits here and there to people. The amount of, you know, and then like different techniques, like different types of discs and stuff. Yeah, there's loads and loads of stuff. Nobody else is quite doing what I do, so it's very hard for me to look to other people who are doing it and just see what, you know, oh, he has an idea, or whatever, you know. Often the advice I pick up is from, like, really random places that have nothing to do with sword making. There's no big, giant sword makers forum, you know?
What has been the most difficult sword you've worked on?
Well, like I was saying before, Lightning's Gunblade was the most technically challenging, where it had over 100 parts, and you know, like they were laser cut. That's the one in the game. It folds up, and thank God in the game it cheats. So that means, like I told the guy that, like, because the transformation cheats, you can have a sword or you can have a gun, but you can't have it transform. So he went for the sword form, but I still had to make all of the parts that looked like they worked. And that involved getting things laser cut, little tiny fiddly bits. You know, me trying to make them by hand and going, this isn't working at all. And you know, and figuring out how to explode the model from the in-game one, how to break it down into layers and see what gets made when and how does it go together. You know, that was very hair putty outish.
How long did it take you to make it?
Oh, once I got going, it was only like a month. But like there must have been at least 2 months of like dicking around trying to figure out how I was going to do it.
Awesome. So one of my beliefs is that we all contribute beyond ourselves to the world. Obviously, one way that you do that is by making huge swords. But I figure there's probably other ways that we don't get to see as viewers of your show that you really give. So are there other ways, and what are they that we don't get to see?
I have, well, I have kids, so there's that. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what, like, I often volunteer for projects around it. Like, there's a parade coming up that I said I would volunteer to be in against my best. Like I said, oh, it's going to be work, and but I said, screw it, yeah, sure, I'll make a thing for your parade. And I will throw a link that you can put. I don't know the copy. So I made this thing the other day. Click. You can put that link in your like in the whatchamacallit, the notes for the video. Yeah, like
Cool.
those are the type. But like, you know, I don't know, other stuff. I don't keep track. You know, it's hard to keep track of that yourself. You know,
Right.
it's like
yeah.
other people probably notice that more.
I'm sure your kids definitely notice it.
Yeah.
What are some of your other interests when you're not creating sword? What are some hobbies?
Oh, I'm into nerdy stuff. Like I do Skype roleplay game. It's not Skype. It's a thing called Roll20, but it's the same idea. Every Saturday with a Mike and a couple of other people. So you know, like I'm way more into GMing nerdy roleplay games than I am into playing them. I find when I'm playing them, I can't resist being a backseat GM, going like, oh, you know, that actually would have been way more effective if we, you know, or like it would have felt more like our choice if you had just phrased it this way. And you know, like I can't stop myself from doing that, and people who GM me find that very frustrating. It's like, you know,
Actually, I just played my first game of Dungeons and Dragons yesterday.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, just funny. My husband likes to DM a lot.
Yeah, and yeah, Dungeons and Dragons. The one I got hooked on was Call of Cthulhu, hence my username. And like I much prefer that one than the Dungeons and Dragons type one. It's more piece together a mystery type thing than.
Oh, cool!
Yeah, like Call of Cthulhu. Everyone should play it. The best roleplay game ever made by anyone ever. Nothing has been equal to it since. My first and best love. I'm so lucky it was my first game, because you get a lot of people who tried the Dungeons and Dragons thing and they get totally put off by the math, and like because things like Warcraft and stuff do the Dungeons and Dragons style game way better nowadays, I find. But there's no tabletop equivalent to, or there's no video game equivalent to Call of Cthulhu yet. And I doubt because of the nature of it, it would be nearly impossible to do.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe on one of the episodes of Big Giant Swords, or maybe it was on one of your Q&As, you spoke about, I believe, a tabletop game that you were designing yourself.
Ah, yeah. No, here's the thing, right? So Dungeons and Dragons, I find kind of my problem with it is it's too slow. Like things like Warcraft do a way better job of the hit that Dungeons and Dragons provides to you. Warcraft provides that hit much more concisely and fast. So I designed a tabletop game that was the goal was to make one that was super fast. It's called Murder Knots, and the goal is to make something that where the violence in it is as fast as a video game. I didn't quite get there, but like it's like Crash TV. You know that old top-down. Do you remember a game called Crash TV for the Mega Drive? You're all looking at me blankly.
I don't think I've ever heard of that one.
And well, the idea was, instead of having a small number of enemies that had like hit points and stuff, the enemies in it pool. So you wade through hundreds of enemies in a game, and but like the enemies group, so it's still only one dice roll, whatever. You don't make an individual dice roll per each turn. So the enemies group, and then they die, and then there's when they flip over to become gore, and the gore is harder to traverse, and you're playing against the clock. There's only an hour to complete the goal, and if you don't complete the goal in an hour, the game just ends. You've lost. So it's a game of trying to move as fast as possible, and it was trying to emulate the like crazy violence of 1980s style video games.
Yeah,
that was the tabletop game.
It sounds interesting.
Cool.
I'm sure. Have you gotten it completed yet, or is it still in beta phase?
Beta, I would say. What's a folder in my house? Beta, I would say. I come back to it every now and again, and like any time I figure out, it's like, oh, that would make it even faster. There used to be 4 stats, but now you basically only have 2 stats.
I like the
it
sound of
seems like
that.
it could get
Yeah.
a lot of people that haven't really played tabletop games because the time commitment that it takes to get into it. This seems to counteract that if you have to have the game beaten within an hour.
Yeah, and similar to Call of Cthulhu, it's not the fun part of a roleplay game, for me at least, is the interactions between the characters and stuff.
Yes.
And Call of Cthulhu was the same in that it was light on the math. I've seen so many people who would probably have enjoyed a roleplay game if they hadn't just come up against the wall of math and gone, oh god, this is so boring, you know?
Games like Dungeons
Yeah, that
and
would be me.
Dragons is just keeping track of everyone's attack and defense.
Yeah, I mean, if you want that kind of stuff, that's basically streamlining. That is what Warcraft does awesomely, you know. Oh, well, you were mentioning the emails, video games you'd like to see turned into movies.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was a topic we had on the last.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Wait, was I there for that?
Yeah.
I was?
Yeah, it was during the web series that you were
Oh,
talking about that you were
okay.
a part of.
Gotcha.
my contribution, well, my two contributions. One of them was going to be I'd like Silent Hill turned into a good movie, if at all possible. Like all the ones I've seen so far, they've made the mistake of having. The great thing about the Silent Hill games was the sense of isolation, and you lose that in a film where you have like 6 or 7 characters walking around and talking at each other. You know, like if they had the if some film could have have the balls to have a silent, near silent protagonist, horribly isolated. That's all you need to get the Silent Hill vibe, you know. But like that's the problem I find. There's too many people yakking at each other in all of the Silent Hill films. It's like and they keep getting worse. The first one was only barely passable, but too many people yakking, and lots of people wandering around brightly lit places talking at each other. That's not what Silent Hill is.
You sort of need the whole feeling of loneliness that you are alone. If you need help, then you're just screwed because there's nobody around to help you. It's just you out there surrounded by all these creepy noises going on, these creepy sounds, the atmosphere, and then not to forget all the crazy monsters.
Yeah, and if you need like Mad Max was a great example there lately, the new one, of you don't need people yakking to deliver exposition. You can show things, you know? Like
Wally is a good example of that.
Yeah. You could have one person wander around a Silent Hill type environment, and if you want to tell people about the environment, like just have things in the environment. Don't have another person go, oh, well, this town was abandoned 10 years ago and blah, blah, blah. It's awfully spooky here. And
So
it's
then
like,
it
don't
becomes
tell
an
me.
episode of Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, it's like, don't tell me it's spooky. Just show me the spooky town, you know? And my other video game I'd like turn into a movie is Hotline Miami. I know, someone said, oh, Drive was like Hotline Miami the movie, but it wasn't. It didn't have any of the crazy person vibe of, you know how Hotline Miami had the crazy person vibe? Are you familiar with it?
I haven't played
Right,
it.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic game.
Yeah, the part of it I liked was the fact that the main character is an unreliable narrator. He's getting weird phone calls. You don't know whether any of it is real or not. That was missing from the film Drive. The only similarity Hotline Miami had to the film Drive was the fashion and the music, kind of. You know, like in terms of tone, I'd like to see a Hotline Miami style film. I mean, there have been Hotline Miami style type films, but I'd still get a kick out of one that was a straight, you know, unreliable narrator killing people thing.
I was going to do a Pokemon topic, but I think actually I want to switch it because we were just talking about movies to games. A big thing that's been in the news, or at least in the gaming news, is that Universal is getting Nintendo. We don't know exactly what kind of Nintendo stuff is coming to Universal. I just got back from Disney. I go to Disney all the time. I love it. It's like my favorite place in the world. So I'm still in like theme park mode. So I'm just thinking about what would be really cool to see at Universal from Nintendo, like whether it might be rides or shows. I really want there to be a Zelda show because I want to audition to play Zelda and move down there and play Zelda and be like, yes, I am Zelda. I just think that would be amazing. But
so, are you talking in terms of movies that Universal could put out?
Well,
or,
no, because they're getting the Universal theme parks are getting Nintendo like characters, rides, attractions, and that sort of thing. So, like, what games that Nintendo has or what Nintendo IP would be good at Universal? Like, what kind of attractions would be cool to see? Whether it be like a Rainbow Road roller coaster or like a water ride at Lake Hylia from Ocarina of Time, something like that. I think would be really cool, especially now with Splatoon. Has a lot of potential because of the inklings and the shooting and all that. You could do a really good round of laser tag or something like that.
Yeah, I have never been to one of these theme parks you speak of, so I have no frame of reference. They sound like they'd be fun, but
they are wonderful. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of old Nintendo games that would have, like, if there was, but obviously there'd have to be some Super Mario thing. I mean, that would be the first obvious choice, right? No?
Yeah, Mario would be cool. I think it'd be cool to do something like with the pipes, how like you're traveling through the pipes. That might be fun.
Yeah, well, my first thought was like, is there an Oculus? You could do like what's that? The Rift, the Void.
Oh, Oculus Rift.
No, the Oculus Rift. But wasn't there a thing there lately where they had a direct overlay? There's some theme park opening called the Void or something where it's a 3D. It's a physical environment. Like there's walls and stuff, but you put on the Rift and wander the physical environment, and there's like walls you can touch and such, like, you know. And there was what's it called?
I remember seeing a short video of that, but I can't remember what it was called.
Yeah, but it'd be great to have like a Super Mario one where you get the mushroom and the virtual environment gets bigger and all the walls pull back.
That would be so cool.
You get hit by something, all the walls pull in.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
That would be really cool.
And then, like, all the different power-ups. Like, if you, I don't know, it would just be cool to sort of, like, get a star and then have everything in your vision start glowing yellow.
And then get the cool music playing.
But the type of theme park attraction that first pops into my head would fit around Halloween time. If you took the Lost Woods from The Legend of Zelda and sort of had a corn maze style theme park attraction to where you're in this made up forest where you're walking around, and then there's maybe animatronics or other people wandering around with you and trying to scare you while you're getting lost. Sort of, as I said, take the ideal away from a corn maze and put it in the Lost Woods from Zelda.
It can have Skull Kid running around.
Right.
Another thing that would work really well is, like, at Epcot, they have a ride called Soarin', and it's basically just a giant Oculus Rift is all it is, and you're sitting and it feels like you're flying and soaring over California is the idea of it. And that could easily translate to any type of video game. I mean, you could be flying on Charizard in Pokemon or something, or could even be like the feeling of racing in Mario Kart. But that would be a really cool idea, I think.
Yeah, I mean, like, with go-karts, you could actually build a physical, some sort of physical Mario Kart thing.
Yeah, I mean, all of my knowledge of theme parks is primarily Disney. I mean, I've been to Universal a couple of times, primarily to go to Harry Potter World. But I'm mainly a Disney girl, but this would definitely bring me to Universal. And I'm frozen. Nope, not frozen anymore. That's okay. I definitely want to see something like with Pokemon there, because I love Pokemon.
Yeah. It seems like, Simon, you've been sort of quiet during this topic. What would you want to see from a Nintendo-themed attraction at Universal? Or movie?
I haven't been to Universal either, but I think what Amanda just said about doing a Pokemon thing, they could do a really, really good Pokemon trainer thing where you travel around this whole area catching Pokemon and things like that.
That'd be neat.
They would be able, because I mean, they do it for Harry Potter, like magic and stuff. So
Yeah.
they could do it for Pokemon really well, I think.
Oh, another thing they have at Epcot is it's a world showcase thing where you're traveling around the world with like Agent P, and that's Perry the Platypus, and it's like you go to different areas and you press this little thing on your little beeper and it interacts with it. You could definitely do something like that with like Pokemon. You could catch Pokemon from around with basically the entire theme park turns into your Pokemon map. That would be so
yeah, like physically recreate one of the villages.
Yeah.
That would be.
Yeah.
That would be so much fun. I really hope it like happens and happens soon.
Yeah, it seems like something you're really passionate about.
Yeah. I've always loved going to theme parks and stuff. I mean, clearly I've said many times that I'm a huge Disney fan. I love Disney World so much.
Did any of you ever read that green text? It starts off like a post-apocalyptic wasteland story, and it keeps getting like this, like how there's all these strange creatures emerging and blah blah blah, and it's a timeline of events and stuff, and it keeps getting weirder and weirder, and then at the very last line entry in the timeline is Ash Ketchum is born.
No, I haven't.
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
I love it.
That's funny.
So it's like a post-apocalyptic
it
world.
starts off in our world, and then it starts, like it's like it has all the years and things that happen with the years. There's like strange creatures, blah blah blah, young people born with the ability to communicate with them.
I like it.
Yeah.
That's so funny.